Welcome to Invictus Porsche. This is a very long awaited video that I've been meaning to do for quite some time. It's about rebuilding a Porsche 911 engine. Could be a 993, 996, 997, any Porsche engine. There are many supposedly Porsche specialists. It happens. There are many supposedly Porsche specialists, and many of them pretend to know what they're doing. But in a lot of the instances, your car goes in and never actually comes out of the garage. Parts get stolen. They will probably charge you for parts that they never put into the car. They'll probably do a substandard job. Their warranties don't mean much, because should you have any problem with the engine down the line, they'll make an excuse to say that you decided not to change X, Y, and Z. But we're going to talk about one of the best engine rebuilder. And in this case, that is AMS Porsche. Are AMS Porsche the best? Because the owner, Angus Archer, knows a thing or two about Porsches, whereas many people, they don't. I'm talking about Porsche specialists. They actually don't. They know how to talk, and they know how to, talk the talk, but they've got absolutely zero ideas. And this is speaking from personal experience, where I have worked with quite a number of Porsche specialists. They're lazy, lacking knowledge, outdated, not having the right softwares, not having the right contacts, not knowing the right engineering company, not knowing where to source parts from, not knowing when you're doing an engine rebuild. Basic things, I've heard things where, somebody has had an engine rebuild worth, 12 grand, but not bothered to change the air oil separator. I can tell you loads of these shocking stories which are beyond belief. But with AMS Porsche, it's only a nice, straight, honest line. There's no ifs, there's no buts. What you see is what you get. It's an honest, transparent service. Now, about this 911, this had just over £9,000 spent with AMS Porsche. They've put 6 brand new liners, all new pistons. The liners, as a matter of fact, are done by an engineering company called Capricorn. They're all nickel liners. Their parent company comes from Germany, so again, they know a thing or two about liners, and they know a thing or two about upgrading the liners, not using the standard OEM liners, which were locker cells, which also suffer from bore scoring down the line. No point spending 10 grand, and rather than spending, let's just say, on locker cell liners, you would end up spending between, £1,000 to £1,300. You might as well spend 1,600 or 2 grand and actually just get proper nickel cell liners put in that don't suffer with bore scoring down the line. So that being one thing. This has got a single row AMS bearing. This is what it had, sorry, not presently. This is what it had. We upgraded the AMS bearing to an EPS bearing. They're more robust. They don't have any rate of failures. They're aftermarket. A thing or two about AMS bearings. There was a lawsuit in America that was put together by about, I think, 4,500 individuals that basically said that the single row AMS bearings that were in the 911s, in the Gen 2 996s and in the early 997s up until sort of mid-2005, they were basically saying that these bearings were failing, and it was causing catastrophic failure to the engine. I'm going to tell you a bit of the truth to this, and the truth of the story, to simply put, is that Porsche said, we accept liability on the condition that these individuals, can't remember from the top of my head, about 4,000 or 5,000 people, that these 4,000 or 5,000 people can prove that they've been servicing their car according to the manufacturer's recommendation. It's as simple as that. So nobody actually knows whether these individuals were eventually paid out, or whether these individuals were able to prove that their AMS bearing failed all of a sudden, or was it because of lack of maintenance? To talk about the exterior, it's quite unique. It's got the basalt black metallic, the quad exhaust. I know they come in as standard on a Carrera S, but the styling on a 911, the engine at the back, that is just something, isn't it? It's a dream car for many of us. Every time I get in one of these, it puts a smile on my face. And the Carrera S, they're more nimble, flexible, and they're a car that you can just sort of throw around into the corners. We'll carry on talking about the spec. It's got my favorite alloys, the 19-inch Sport Design alloys. I know many of you love the lobster claws. If you don't like them, I'll swap them with the lobster claws, because they're my favorite. Might not be your favorite. Something I forgot at the end, it's got parking sensors at the back. The top part of the windscreen is tinted. It's got xenon headlights. And that shape, especially in the 997 Mark I, when they reverted back to the round headlights, I think is what a 911 is all about. And this is a 911 that one can buy with a peace of mind, knowing that cosmetically it's good, but mechanically it's 10 out of 10. It is absolutely excellent. You don't have to worry about a single, small, big, whatever thing on the engine mechanically on this. Mechanically, this is a bulletproof car. And something else, future values on these. One that's had a rebuild by a well-known Porsche specialist such as AMS Porsche, one doesn't have to worry about the resale value down the line, because a year down the line, I could probably sell that back again for the same price, if not for more, because the way the values of these 911 have been, it's just been up, not sideways, not at the same level, not down, just up. So if there's a time to buy a 911, it's probably now, because the values have slowly been on the rise. Let's go for a drive now. How does the interior of a 911 Carrera S, a 997.1, feel like? I mean, what do you get on the inside? How does it feel like driving one of these cars? Well, firstly, from an interior perspective, this one's got a fair bit of spec on it. It's got the sport steering wheel, it's got the sport seats, which are also heated. These are all optionals, the Alcantara headlining. It's got cruise control, it's got the PCM2 navigation system. So all in all, it's got quite a few things tick in its favour. And not to forget, it's got Bose, by which you get really good sound. Now, how does it drive? Oh, marvellous. It's nimble, it's fast, it's punchy. It is what you want a 911 to be, exactly that. Stats is one of my favourite things. Not really, I think they're boring. I just want to get in the car and drive it. But some of us do want to know the facts and the numbers on these. It does 350 bhp. It produces 400 Newton meters of torque, 1425 kilograms. That's the weight of the overall vehicle. It does 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds. In terms of an overall MPG, in mixed MPG, you get 25 MPG. And the top speed on this is 182 miles an hour. This car, until it needed an engine rebuild, it actually had an excellent service history. It was a full Porsche service history. In total, it had 7 stamps. Of the 7, 6 of them were all done at a main dealer. Only one of them was done at a Porsche specialist, which is called Critford Porsche, and they're very well known. They do an excellent job. Let's talk about the number of owners. This has got 4 previous owners, including the current 5 owners. The current owner had actually owned the vehicle for 5 years until he gave it to us, and we knew we needed to rebuild the engine because there were certain symptoms we knew about the car, and it just gave us the right indication that it's best to give this in the right condition to our next customer. This is a beautiful bond. As the car is as good as brand new, it all depends on how you maintain the car, how you look after the car. It's a car because with the engine rebuild, with the kind of service history it's got, and it's still got rather low number of owners, especially when you compare it that these cars do change hands quite frequently, as you would expect with any sports cars, because they're bucket list items cars for many of us. Would recommend this car to anyone looking for their perfect 911, both from a future investment perspective, both from a car that gives them loads of joy and enjoyment, the fact that it's been rebuilt by proper professionals that comes with a 2 years guarantee. But above all, whoever decides to buy this will not lose money in it, especially in the next 2 years. And that's an absolutely guarantee. If you enjoyed our video, please comment, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate your feedback.